All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 31 of our Rankin Technical College online AWD 1100 C# programming class. Couple things as we get started. I did mention yesterday, I went back, if you didn't see it or hear about it, Rankin connecting to, and what had happened was yesterday there was a job fair at the Rankin-Wentzville campus, and the room that normally I broadcast out of, I wasn't able to get in there because they kept that room open if any of the employers wanted to do any kind of interviewing. So I wasn't allowed to go in there. So I went back to the main office and tried to broadcast from there, but I couldn't connect to any kind of network whatsoever. So what ended up happening was this was between 5:30 and about 8:15. So at 8:15, I drove home, even though class supposedly had already started, got home and set everything up there and started broadcasting around 8:40 or 8:45 or so. So the reason that we're talking today is I lost 45 minutes yesterday and I only went for about 2 hours. All right, the other stuff that we were going to cover yesterday, those being extra exercises 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3, I'm going to do right now. All right, I was going to go back into Rankin today, but I didn't want to run through the same rigmarole type of thing where things could have gone bad. So I didn't. So I'm home. And in the next room to me is my 6-month-old grandson who sounds like he's having a bad morning. So if you hear any wailing, that's him and not me or anybody else. All right. So again, today we're going to go over extra exercises 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3. If it takes 2 hours, fine. Then the rest of the period will be lab and we'll continue on with chapters 9 through 11 next week. One day next week, either Monday or Tuesday, will be a dedicated lab period because you lost a lab day today. So either Monday or Tuesday, it'll depend. What will it depend on? I'm writing a pretest for chapters 9 through 11. And if I get it done, then Monday we'll probably go over it and Tuesday will be a lab, otherwise vice versa. But I'll let you know before Monday morning. All right. And the test C# hot number 5 on chapter 9, 10, and 11. And I'll just tell you right now, probably 90% of the test is on chapter 10. There's nothing on chapter 11 and very little on chapter 9. All right, so that'll be Wednesday. Okay, that means on Thursday, we're officially halfway through the book and we're going to start on chapter 12. And that's a whole new area to get into, but we'll get into it at that time. So remember, I have started grading these, and it looks as though there's a handful of people who have not turned in the homework and written tests for chapter 8, and or they have not turned in the hands-on test for chapter 8. So that homework was due now this past Monday, and the hands-on test was due this past Tuesday. All right. Your chapters 9 through 11 homework and written tests will be due a week from this Sunday. So you'll have 2 lab days next week, either Monday and Friday or Tuesday and Friday to work on them. And we'll take one more last look at the homework, and we will do one of those problems next week, one of the 4 or 5 problems, whatever we're on there. Okay, so with that said, I just want you to know what I did do to try to make this a little faster today was the other day I went through and did in chapter 9.10 here, I did 9.1 and I did 9.2. So what I did was I just created the projects for 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3. All right, so they are out there, but this is all that's there. So this is 10.1, this is 10.2, and this is 10.3. So there really is nothing in there. I've copied in the comments that are in there, but I haven't built the interface and I haven't put any of the code in. All right, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to do them in order. So we're going to go over 10.1, but let's take a quick look here and see what it is we're supposed to be doing. So it says we are to add code that converts the value a user enters based on the type of selection they want to make. And I'm not going to read these. There's 6 of them here that you can see. All right. And once you come in and you choose from a drop-down list one of these 6 things, then you should be able to put in a number and then click a calculate button, and you should be able to do the conversions. For example, if I put in the number 1 and I had selected centimeters to inches, it should come back with 0.3937 type of an idea. All right. Okay. So I'm going to create the GUI right now as is shown. And again, I'm just taking these right out of here. So the one that we're going to do first is going to be this one right here. You can see it's a pretty simple interface. What? Three labels, 2 text boxes, a drop-down list, and I did put a clear button in here as I usually do. All right. So again, we're going to do all that. We're going to set the drop-down style of the combo box. So the user must select an item from the list. Okay. We'll add code to the combo box with the first element. Basically, so when it comes up, it'll show the first thing that's in there. We'll add code so that every time you change something, our text boxes originally that are in here, these 2 text boxes, when you bring the program up, these 2, this one will say from, and this one will say to. And as soon as you change like this, if you went meters to feet, this will change from the word from to the word meters and from the word to the word feet. All right. And we'll do that programmatically in just a couple minutes. All right. And that pretty much is it. It says add code to check whether the user enters a valid decimal value for the length, etc. So we've got some validation that we're going to do in here also. But let's start then by creating the actual interface, which, like I said, is pretty simple. So I'm going to start by coming in here and adding 3 labels right away. Okay. All right. So this will be my conversion. Okay. This one will be the from. This one will be the to. All right. Let's put in our drop down list, which of course is a combo box. Whoops. Didn't want 2 of them. So we'll put that in. And I'm going to stretch this one out quite a bit here. So it's about to there. Hopefully it's going to be big enough. And then we're going to have 2 labels, or I'm sorry, 2 text boxes. One to hold the from value. And we'll make it about half as big as our drop down about there. One to hold our to value. And our 3 buttons. All right. Wasn't too bad or too painful. So that is pretty much it for our interface. As always, let's go in here and change the size so you can read everything as I get going here. All right. So there's that button. Let's put the ampersand at the beginning. There we go. This will be our clear button. And finally, this will be our exit button. All right. Right here, these labels that I'm centering right now. The first one will be the actual conversion type. So I'm just going to call this one LBL conversion. Let's lock this interface into place. All right, so this will be LBL conversion. All right, and this right here, I'm going to make it a drop-down list. So I'm going to call this DDL, drop-down list conversion. All right, and I'm going to go down to the type here, which is currently set. I guess it is set to drop down, so that's fine. All right, this one is going to say conversion on it for the name of the label. All right, this is going to be our from and our to. So this will be called LBL from. And this is probably, at least, probably the first time that we're going to come in here and we're going to programmatically change the value that's in these two labels. So this will be txt from. Finally, this will be a little wider here. So this will be txt from, I guess I already did that, and this will be LBL2, and it'll have the word to on it. And this will be txt2. Double check and make it. And as far as I can tell, it has. So as always, let's come through here and we'll set our accept button to calculate. We will set our cancel button to clear. And we will set, or I guess I already did the start position to center screen. Okay, to set our tab order, this is going to be the to is going to be read only. So let's make that read only right away. All right, so our tab order will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. And when you think about it, what do we want to have happen here when we click clear? All right, I'm going to clear this. I'm going to clear this. I'm going to send this back to the word from, and I'm going to send that back to the word to. I think that's going to probably be all I want to do here. So we're going to do that in just a second. And we'll bring in our exit in our show message in just a second. All right, so txt from.text is going to be equal to nothing. txt2.text is going to be equal to nothing. Finally, again, LBL from.text is going to be equal to the word from. And LBL2.text is going to be equal to the word to. I'm not going to set any focus here. I could, but I'm not going to. All right, again, it's depending on what you're doing. Sometimes it's a judgment call as far as what you do and how you do it. All right, and as far as the exit, let's quickly put that code in there so we can get going here. All right, so let's save it, run it. Oh, I didn't set that, so let's reset that right now. Sorry. So 10.1, startup project, go. All right. So if I put something in here, again, I can't in here, of course, but clear works, exit also works. Okay, well, that's good. So that stuff, at least for right now, that stuff is out of the way. Okay. So let's go in and start writing some code. Now I put in several constants in here, just so you know. So I'm going to start by putting those in up at the top. And there's a good 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 12 of them. So this will take a second. But let's not. This is what's going to appear in the label, so I'm not going to make those capitalized. Constant names will. All right, those are the 6 different kinds of measurements, and this is going to be what's going we're going to use to fill up the combo box with. All right, 2 more and we're done. All right, so those are our constants. Again, these 6 right here, those 6 are going to be used to fill up the labels right here. And then finally, these 6 that are right here, those will be used to fill up our drop-down list. Did it have to be done that way? Of course not. It's just that is the way I did it. Again, right, wrong, good, bad, it doesn't really matter. So let's go in and start doing this. All right. Well, I tried to keep this in vogue, so to speak, with the way that we have been doing things. So I've got a try catch in here, and I've got an is valid data in here. All right. And I've got a, uh, I'll also have an is present in here and is decimal in here. And I'm going to add my new one, is no drop down list option. So if nothing was chosen in the drop down list. So again, like I said, this is how I have done this one. All right. I'm noticing here that clear, there should be a lowercase L, not an uppercase. So let's just fix that right away. That should, of course, fix it in the code automatically, and it did. Okay. So in our calculate, like I said, I put a try catch in here. I'm just going to throw the catch in here right now so I don't get an error, and it'll be a format exception. All right, there, now that I don't get an error in there. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to check for valid data, which I haven't written yet, but we'll write in just a second. Wow, that didn't change this. No, it doesn't like that, so doggone it. Well, I'm not sure what the problem with that is, but there's some kind of a problem. Let's just change it back because I don't want to waste your time. watching me dig through this. So we'll make that a big L again. Should have changed it, but it didn't. Okay, so we're going to say if is valid data, which we haven't written yet. So of course we're going to get an error message. All right. So if it is valid, what do we want to do? That means that we have put a number in there. All right. You know this. We've done this kind of thing before. All right. So what do I want to do? Well, then I want to say decimal. Decimal, and I just called it from and to, equals convert dot to decimal txt from dot text, and we can even add on there our dot trim. All right. We should be able to convert it because the data has been validated. And then I called another routine we haven't written yet that's called set labels and and perform calculation. In order to do that, it'll need this from value. All right, for now, I'm going to just comment this out so we have one less error to worry about. All right, in my catch statement, doing this the way that we've typically been doing it, so I'll call show error message, and I will put in here system message, so I can get whatever the system says was wrong. And then a couple blank lines, and then my own message. In fact, I put everything in here. So fe.getType dot toString, and then another blank line, and I just put the fe stack trace. And this is a format exception. I didn't even put in my own error. I just did it like this. Let the system figure it out. Okay. And I spelled error wrong. There we go. So the only thing we have to write now, all right, is this valid data. So let's write that right now. All right. Since it's going in here and it's a test, we know it has to return a Boolean. All right. And I'm going to do this again very similarly to the way that I ended up copying a lot of this from the textbook. All right. So the first thing we want to do is we want to validate that indeed there was something put in here. All right. Because it is possible, even though this is going to be filled up, all right, programmatically, it's possible that we can set it up so nothing will be selected. In other words, that this will be empty right now, meaning that the selected index will be set to -1. All right. So just in case that happens, down in here, I'm going to validate the drop-down list. So error message plus equal, and this is another routine we haven't written yet. We'll write it right below this in just a second, is no drop down option. We have to put it into string because it's expecting a string, and it's called, oops. Let's put this on 2 lines so you can see all of it in here. All right. So this will actually be the drop-down list. All right, and again, for right now at least, we're getting that error because we haven't written the routine yet. We're going to write it in just a second. All right, now we also have to validate that there is something in the text box that we want to input in and decimal. So I'm just going to add those right now. So again, I'm going to get two more errors here, but we'll write all of this in just a second. So we're getting right now these messages, these error messages here. This isn't returning anything yet. We'll fix that in a second. But this hasn't been written, this hasn't been written, and this hasn't been written. So let's write those. And hopefully those three errors that you see right now on your screen, they will, hopefully at least, they will be removed in, excuse me, in just a matter of seconds. Okay. Right? And there'll be a string value and a string name. Trying to keep this again kind of in accord with what we have been doing. Message equals nothing. And if the drop-down list dot selected index is less than 0, and remember, it'll be -1 if nothing has been selected. So if that's the case, then I'm just going to add a message here. Again, this is right out of Muroc. I've changed, of course, this because they didn't have a test for this, but doing this and then putting this if type of statement, etc., that's right out of Muroc. All right, so now our first error is gone. Okay, so we're down to 2 errors. So let's fix these 2. So we'll do the is present and we'll do the is decimal again, taken right from Muroc. All right, if it's empty, let's just grab this from here. And this says is a required field. And we must return the message. So that error is gone and that error is gone. All right. So we've got to do the is decimal next. So let's put it right under the is present. We don't need to do anything right now with that value. We're just checking if it's a decimal or not. So I'm using the discard value right there. And again, let's grab that from here. And finally, again, return the message. All right. Doesn't like something, so oh, that should be a Boolean. That's a string rather, I'm sorry. All right, so now all those error messages that we had in here, all right, have been fixed. We're not done yet with the is valid data, and that's why we're still getting an error message in there. But we have gone through and we should at least be able to successfully check to make sure there's a value in the list box, check to make sure that our from text box has something in it, and that what's in it is a decimal value. All right, so again, pretty much taken right from Muroc. So if error message is not equal to nothing, again, meaning there was an error, all right, success is going to be equal to false. We'll do our show error message, where we'll put in the error message, and we'll just say something like entry error. Doesn't matter what we put in there. And finally, we will return success. Now, if you look down at the bottom here in just a second, okay, it says the name is valid does not exist in the current context because I spelled it wrong. There we go. So right now I have no errors. And let's quickly, all right, because we're about to go through the actual logic now. All right, so let's quickly go through everything. Again, we set up 6 programmatic constants, and those are going to be used. Those things that you see right there are going to be used either in here or in here. All right, then we set up 6 programmatic constants, and we're doing that to fill up our drop-down list. Okay, then we came in here, and this is the calculate button. I'm not going to go through the clear, and I'm not going to go through the exit. We've done that plenty of times. So we want to validate that the values in both the drop-down list and the, we'll call it the from text box, are indeed valid values. That's what we're doing right there. All right. Now, the reason it works right now, and we're going to make it not work in just a second, is we commented this out. So what we're saying is if the validation worked, meaning there was an option selected in the drop-down list, meaning we had a number that was in there in the that we did put into the from text box. If that all happens, then we want to take that value that we put into the first text box, not the read only, but the other one, and convert it to a decimal. And then we want to do our calculation. If we had a problem, all right, we've thrown a format exception. We'll look at that in just a bit. Then in the is valid data, this is again almost right out of Muroc. The only thing that's new is this one. I wrote a new thing called is no drop down list option. All right, or I could have probably would have been better to say is no drop down list option selected. I know that's a pretty long name. All right, but we'll do that. It's a little bit more descriptive that way. So we do that, and we're saying here, if nothing, meaning that it's in, and we'll return that. So we're returning either an empty string or that message. Then we do the is present and the is decimal, which we've gone over quite a few times. Again, the is present, either there is a value present, so we'll return an empty string, or you is not present. We give that message that it's a required field, and we return that. With a decimal, we go in and try to parse it. If we can't parse it, we give you that for the message and we return it. If we could parse it, all right, we come in here. Now, another thing we could have put in here, I didn't, we were not asked to, but we could have come in here and checked for a negative input value as well. I don't believe we're asked to do that here, so I didn't do it. But the point is, we could have. All right, if we wanted to do that, we could have. All right. Okay. So the only thing that we really have left in here that I know of is to uncomment this, and then we got to write this. So again, set labels and perform calculation, and we're passing in whatever was in that text box. So I'll put it before our validation. Yeah, we'll put it afterwards. So is valid data, is no drop-down list option, is present, is decimal. We'll put it here right before our clear. So it'll be a private, it's a void. We're getting the error right now, and you should know why by now. It's because with here, we have to say the type of value that it is. It's a decimal. And I called it from value. We could give it the same name, another name, you know. All right. Is I'm going to want to change that from to whatever I put in here first, and change the 2 to whatever I put in here second. So if this says centimeters to inches, I want that to change to centimeters, and I want that to change to inches. All right. Hopefully what I just said made at least a little bit of sense. All right. So I had 3 variables in here, a string that I called from str that I initialized to nothing, a string called to str, which I initialized to nothing, and a decimal for the result. That's going to be our answer. And I just set that equal to 0M for right now. Okay. So I've gone through and I have initialized everything too. So if for some reason I should never get in here if I've got bad data. So even though I probably don't have to do this, I put it in anyway. If now you might look at that and say, okay, I see what you're doing, but I have no idea as to why you're doing it. All right. Hopefully you agree with this. When I run this program, I would like the user to choose a value here, then put a number in, then hit calculate. But there's nothing stopping them from putting in a number here, then choosing a here, and then clicking calculate. So I'm just trying to protect myself here. And that's why I put this in here. All right. So if that's the case, what do I want to do? Well, I'll tell you what I am going to do. And I'm going to do this. Um, I'm going to end up doing what I'm about to show you in my load event. All right. What I'd like to do is when the program starts running, I'm going to take that button and I'm going to disable it. All right. Why? Because if there's nothing in here, it shouldn't be enabled. All right. So, so I mean, and again, there's different ways to do this, but if for some reason this validation didn't work, I'm going to come in here and say BTN, and I didn't do this in my code, but I think, at least, I think I should have with the way that I've written this, but we're going to find out in just a minute. All right. So I'm going to come in here and say BTN calculate enabled is false. All right. So when I get down to here, well, I know that it was valid data in there. So I only want to do this if this is invalid. I could have also put this someplace in my is valid. I could have put it up here. You know, I could have said up where we're checking that way the hay up here. All right. I could have put an else in here that said, take the button and make it false or whatever. So there's a lot of ways that this again can be potentially can be done. So if I get down to here, I do want it enabled. All right. And now what I want to do is I want to switch based on whatever they've entered into the drop-down list. So I'm going to do a switch based on DDL conversion dot selected index. If it's a zero, they chose miles to kilometer. If it's a 1, kilometer to miles. If it's a 2, feet to meters. If it's a 3, feet, meters to feet. If it's a 4, inches to centimeters. And if it's a 5, centimeters to inches. So I'm going to only check for 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll put a default on there just in case, but it should never really be hit. All right. So I'm going to put this in case 0. If that's the case, I want my from string equal to mile, because that'll say miles on it. And I want my to string equal to kilo. All right. And the result should be equal to, now, if you look up here, I want you to see this. Okay. I did not, what these are all set up as strings. I could have come up here and said something like miles in a kilometer. I could have called it that and set it equal to 1.69 or 6093, which is the value. So I could have put a lot more constants in here. I looked at that and I said, you know what? I already have a dozen constants, which to me were plenty. So I did it like this. I said from value, which is that value that was in the text box, times 1.6093m, and then break. All right. Now, hopefully what I just did in there made sense to you, but I am going to go over it in just a second. Now I'm going to copy this down. We're going to put it in here 6 times. Actually 7 times. This last one will make our default. Okay. All right. So I'm getting errors, but we're going to fix them all right now. This is a 1, so all I want to do is reverse these. So this becomes KILO. This becomes mile. And this calculation is 0.621n. Like that. Whoops. So there's that one. So we've got our first 2 done in here. All right. Then we go down to number 2. And this is feet and meter. And this is 0.3048m. All right, so this one will have to be reversed. So this will be meter, and this will be feet. And of course, that's a 3. All right, and that one is 3.2808. Okay, so we've now got all of them done except the last 2, so 4 and 5. All right, and here this is going to be inch. This is going to be cent. And the calculation, whoops, the calculation here is going to be 2.54. Finally, I'll have to reverse this one. So this will be inch. Oops, sorry, that'll be cent per centimeters. This will be inch. And the calculation, that's 0.3937. Okay, and that should be all of the calculations. Now, the good news is all of the calculations are done. The bad news is we haven't filled anything up. But if you notice, every single time I use the word result in here, all right, because I only want to set that result once. I also only want to set the from value once and the to value once. So outside here, outside of the switch statement, I can now say LBL from dot text equal the from string. LBL2 text is the to string. All right. And finally, TXT2 dot text. That's going to be equal to the result dot toString. And we'll make it or this. I know, and I'm sorry if I keep harping on the same stuff, but we could have come in here and just as well have done this. I'll comment this one out, but I could have come in there and said, and then used result in here with an N4 like that. That would have worked just as well. All right. I think we're done. Now I'm going to run this, and it's not, in my opinion, at least. No, I'm not done. I'm sorry. In my opinion, at least, it's not going to be perfect. And I think there's a way I could have written this to make it a little better. So the only thing I have to write yet is my load event, because remember when the form loads, I want that to be filled up, and right now it's not. So I called load drop down list, which of course has not been written. So we'll put it right here. Now, you saw this yesterday in class. I went over 2 or 3 different ways that we could set this up. Okay, all of those constants that I made, we could have put them into a string array just as well. Maybe that would have been a cleaner way to do it than the way I did it. All right, I did it the way I did it. All right, no, I'm not bragging about it. I'm not complaining about it or whatever, but just so you know. So DDL conversion dot items. Let's clear it first. So if there was something in there, there shouldn't be. We'll just get rid of it. And we're just going to add each one of these. Again, there will be 6. All right, I'm going to change all those in a minute, but I'm also going to do 2 more things. I'm going to set the selected index to 0. So the first one will be selected. And I'm going to say btn calculate, all right, dot enabled. I didn't do this on mine, and I might have to change it back, but I think it'll be okay the way it is. It's false. So I've got M to K, then I'll need K to M, then I'll need F to M, and M to F. Finally, I'll need I to C, M to K, K to M, F to M, M to F, good. I to C, and C to I. If what I used here, I mean, hopefully you understand the reason that I used this is that was, I mean, I could have called the actual constant, and notice I didn't put constant in any of these. I better do that right now. But I could have called the constant miles to kilometers, but that's a lot to type. Let's go back and make all of these constants. I should have, and I apologize for not doing that to begin with. All right. It's showing me right now, at least, no errors, and that's a good thing. Okay. All right. So let's save it and let's run it. Now you'll notice the calculate button is not there. All right. So I think there's going to be a problem with this, but we'll see in a minute. I'm going to manually change this back to miles to calculate to there, and I'm going to put it here at 34. I just a random number, but it didn't change here. So where I've got that done, I'm going to have to get rid of that. I wonder if I do this, still isn't changing. So every place where I've gone in, at least at the beginning here, where I've gone in and I set that calculate to false, I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. So file, let's run it again. Now it's there. Okay, I've got miles to kilometers. I'll just put 1 in here. Calculate. Notice it changed to miles, it changed it to kilometers. All right. And if we go back up to here, Move this. This is the easiest way to check this. And what I mean is we already know there. So I can check this. So 1 mile is 6.093. So that's correct. Let's go the other way. All right. And run it. And we get kilometers to miles. It's 0.621. All right. That's wrong. It should be 6214. So I'll have to fix that in just a moment. All right. So let's do the feet to meters. And that's 0.3048. So that's correct. Let's do the meters to feet. And that's 3.2808. So that's correct. Finally, let's do the inches to centimeters. 2.5400. That's correct. And the centimeters to inches. 0.3937. So the only one I believe that was wrong was this kilometers to miles. So I'll have to fix that calculation. I want to do that first. Okay, that's right there. All right, that calculation that I put in there like that, all right, that I put in as that should have been 0.6214. So let me save this. All right. And let me just put that one in right away and put in a 1 and see if that's what we get there. Now that's correct. I'm not going to check the other ones. I've already done that. Now, I was thinking about this and how could I make this program better? And I want to show you, because I thought about this right before class, what I came up with. All right, and that was this. Every time I change this, right now, I'm not doing anything. That's a selected index changed event. But what I could do is every time I change this, I could come over and I could clear the form, meaning there was nothing in the to, there was nothing in the from, and the labels were set back. So I could call clear form. Now, I don't know, I didn't do this before. This is going to make this better or worse, or not at all, nothing. So let me save that. All right. Still works fine when I clear it. Okay, that changed back to from that to to. Now there's a problem here because if I put a 1 in here again, let's see. Yeah, it did change it. All right, let's clear it again and let's choose a different one. And we'll put in 23. And it does have meters and feet. So it appears, I think that made it better. All right. Now I want to mention one last thing to you. And we're going to take a break then, but this might sound goofy, but I just want you to know this. All right, because this bugs me. Maybe you think it's silly, but I'm quirky this way. All right, I can come in here and I can highlight both of these fields. You know this, I've done this multiple times for you, and I can center them. That's fine. But there is nothing in here for centering. This is automatically left justified. All right, and I've even gone and Googled it without the Stack Overflow. There are people who try to fix it, but they put hacks into their program. But if that bothers you, just so you know that. All right, so I think, at least, I believe the program is done. So you'll notice it was not a small program, it was upwards of 300 lines. But that also included a big comment here, and I think we've done everything that's in there. We had our constants, we validated our data if it was valid, we set our labels accordingly, and we performed the correct calculation. If it wasn't valid, we didn't even look at that, so let's look. So I'm going to put nothing. Notice in this one, I did set it up for a dropdown, which means something is always chosen in here. I have no number required. It must be a valid decimal value. Must be a valid decimal value. Here is where we could have come in and checked and said that if it was negative, we could have made a check for that too. If you think that's cleaner, all right. I mean, one thing we could have done is we could have just come in here under the is decimal. All right. We could have done this return message. And now I'm going to say this. Else, if now we want to use this value, so we can't make it a discard anymore. I'm just going to come in here and say decimal result, set it equal to 0M. All right. And we're going to now put this into result. All right. So else if result is less than or equal to 0, okay, we could put a message in there that says it must be a positive, greater than 0 decimal value. All right. I don't know, sometimes when you're working with things like this, I don't know if I'm making it better or worse, but now if I leave it and I put in something in here that's negative, I get that. Okay, what I just added here. And probably it would also be a good thing if I'm going to do that. Okay, I could have actually come in here. Okay, it must be a valid decimal value, must be greater than 0. We could have said txt from dot text. We could clear that out. Probably would be a better thing to do. Txt from dot text again equals nothing. And if we wanted to, we could even give it the focus. Like that. So now if we run it and we put nothing in there, okay, we get our message, but there's our cursor. If we put in non-numeric, we get the other message, and there's our cursor, and it's cleared out. And if we put in a negative number, it's again cleared out, and even 0 is cleared out. All right. So like I said, those are all tweaks that I just put in later that I hope is making the program better. So again, we're going to break, but validated the data, okay? And we had our is valid, which made sure there was something in the drop-down list. There always should be anyway, so probably I could have even gotten away without doing this one, but it doesn't hurt. All right, if I decide to change the drop-down list type later, now I'm covered with this. We check to make sure there's a value in the from text box, the first text box, the one we input into, and that it's a decimal. We also even check in there to make sure it's positive now. If anything failed, we give the message and we return failure. Otherwise, we return false. Otherwise, we return true. So this was no drop down selected, meaning this would be -1. This is the presence or absence of a value. This is our is decimal. And again, I added an else in there to say that if it was negative. Okay. Then if we get in here, everything was cool. All right. So we, just in case though, depending on the order in which they've done this. Okay. And we enable the button here. All right. And we did a switch. So if it was 0, we're going miles to kilometers. If it's a 1, we're going kilometers to miles. If it's the second one, it's feet to meters. The third one, if the index is 3, meters to feet. If the index is 4, inches to centimeters. If the index is 5, centimeters to inches. This default, I could have just put a break there. It should never get hit anyway. But just in case it does, I just set it to the first value that was up here. We didn't have to do that. I could have just said break in here. Would have been fine. All right. Then we set up our from string, our to string, our answer. And again, I showed you the answer in both ways. All right. So it is 9:04. Let's take till 9:15. We'll come back in a meeting on 10-2. I'll see you in 11 minutes. All right, it's 9:15, so I'm going to continue on. Two things as we get started. First, eventually this is going to be the GitHub repo. Whoops. Well, wherever I put it, it's up here someplace. There it is. Okay, and I'll send you the link to it at the end of the day. That's the first thing. And the second thing is I made this one bigger on purpose because this is probably the most intricate form we've created so far. So I'm going to do this by starting to create the 3 buttons. And this is not going to be called calculate. It's actually going to be called place order. And I put all my buttons down here, even though in the book it didn't show it like that. And in the book, they didn't have a clear button, but this is how I did it. All right. Then we're going to have 3 group boxes. And again, this is how I set this up. So the first group box will be up here. Make it nice and big and wide. Well, like that. And I'm going to make the background a tinge darker so you can see that. And then I'm going to copy it, put it over here. So these will be my 2 group boxes. Then I'm going to have yet another one down here. All right. And the one I have down here, I'm going to make this one wider. So what this is going to have in it, just an FYI for you. All right. In this first group box that you see, the first one that you see up on the top left, this is going to have whatever our main courses are. And they're either going to be a hamburger, pizza, or a salad. That's what's going to go into here. All right. And then this is going to be add-ons. What does that mean? That means that if you buy a hamburger, you can add on lettuce, tomato, and onions, and or you can add on ketchup, mustard, and mayo, and or you can add on French fries. All right. If this is the pizza for your main order, you can add on either pepperoni and or sausage and or olives. And if it's salad, your add-ons can be, I think it's like croutons, and I don't remember what else there is. You're going to see it in just a minute, okay? So this is everything here. So let's just start by doing this. So this will be place order. So I called it BTN place order, and they want the um, ampersand to be by the Owen order. So there's that one. We'll worry about the size in a minute. This will be our clear and our calculate as we always do. Yeah, no, I made that lowercase now. And exit. All right. Now, I guess I am going to come in and might as well do that right now. Let's set the size. I'm going to have to do a little bit of maneuvering here, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. All right. That's actually probably too big for the writing, but for now, at least I'm going to leave it like that. All right. And here I want to put in 3 radio buttons. 3. All right. One for the hamburger, one for the pizza, one for the salad. And I'm going to stack them one on top of the other. All right. And I want to make sure it is set to 20. Good. So that'll be our second one. And that will be our third one. That doesn't look too bad. I can probably lift these up a little bit higher. In fact, let's kind of center them and we'll put it like that. All right. Let's just change these right away. Again, I start with rad. So this is going to be rad burger. And I put in here just the word burger. I could have put hamburger, but I just I thought burger would suffice. And that is also going to be $7.95. So there's that. The second radio button is going to be Rad Pizza. And it is going to have in it and that is $6.95. Finally, the last one is going to be salad. So I made it Rad Salad. And that was $6.50. Okay, it's not lined up perfectly, but it's not bad either as far as the verbiage in here. Guess I could have put in here, looks like if I move that over one, space in there, that might be a little better. And I can do the same thing. Actually, I could put even another one in, it looks like. That looks pretty good. And so is that. So that's not bad. Again, if I wanted to, if I think, no, that should have only had one or whatever, I can play with it whatever way I want to. All right, the other thing too is I didn't name this group box. These are going to have my main courses. So I'm going to put in here GB for group box. So GB main courses. All right. And I'm going to put in for the text here, main courses. Now, this is just me, but I don't like this being as big as these. So for my text, just for this here, hopefully I'm only going to change the one. I'm going to make that about 12. Oh, that changed all of them. I didn't want to do that. It shouldn't change all of them, but if it does it again, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. All right, I'll leave it the way it was. Okay, I don't like that, but I could work around with it and probably get it to where I wanted it. This second one is going to be what are called the add-ons. So I'm going to call this GB group box add-ons. This will change depending on which of these we've selected. But when the program starts, what we're told to do is we're told to default this to burger. So I'm going to put the 3 add-ons here for burgers. These are all optional, so they'll be checkboxes. Okay. Now these, I'm going to have to move over a little because the first one is pretty big, so that's fine. This first one, okay, this first checkbox, I'm just going to, I'm going to call these CHK for checkbox. I'm going to call them CHK add-on 1, CHK add-on 2, and CHK add-on 3. And the first one is burger, lettuce, tomato, and onions. Okay. Now, the next one here says lettuce or ketchup, mustard, and mayo, and why you would charge somebody $1.25 to put on ketchup, mustard, and mayo is beyond me, but that's what they said. Okay, so that is CHK add-on 2. And the last one, which is CHK add-on 3. And that one's going to say French fries. All right. And again, just because I'm quirky, I'm going to move that over just a bit. That's okay right there. So these two are done. This is done. All right. But I got to come down here, and this, they, for whatever reason, they doubled up on the names. So this is going to be GB order total. And it will say order total. All right. And there will be 3 labels and 3 text boxes here. Now that, I'm gonna leave that as a transparent label. I think that'll be okay. Right to me. In fact, we'll make it a shade lighter like the form is. I'm going to say subtotal. So it'll be LBL sub, oh, let's just add the other 2. All right, and then let's put in our 3 text boxes. Doesn't look too bad. So the first one that we're putting in here, the first one is going to be the subtotal. All right, so this will be LBL subtotal. and it will say subtotal. The second one will be tax. And when we start out, let's make this one txt subtotal. All right, when we start out, this is going to be tax. So this will be LBL tax. But this one is going to be different. We're going to add another form to this in just a minute where we're going to be able to go in and change the tax rate. But they tell us to, when we start, they want this to say tax 7.75%, like that. All right, and this will be txt tax. And finally, this will be order total. Same name as that one, unfortunately, but that's fine. So this will be LBL order total. And again, this will also say order total, like that. All right, so as far as I can tell, okay, everything is done here. So let's see if we can lock the interface into place. Okay. All right, we'll do our place order in just a second, our clear in just a second, and our exit. The only one I want to do right now is the exit. If you say why, we're going to get into that in just a moment. Now with this one, all right, with this one, something is going to be chosen all the time. So I don't think we're ever going to call this. I'm going to leave it in there, but I don't think we're ever going to call it. All right, now what you may have noticed too, I'm going to come in here and do a file save all. But this is a little trickier as far as setting up the tab order. All right, so I am going to do a view. In fact, before we do that, let's set up our buttons. So our accept button will be place order. Our cancel button will be our clear. And we'll set this up for center screen if it's not, it already is. So let's go in here, view our tab order. I'm going to click here and notice when I do, it goes to 0, 0.0, 0.1, 0.2. That's okay then. 1, 1.0, 1.1, 1.2. So that's okay. And then when I come in here, I want to actually change that to 2.0, 2.1, 2.2. All right, which means I have to change these, otherwise they're the same. And then this will be 3, 4, 5. That's okay as far as I'm concerned. So view tab order. So I think now that my tab order is set, I think it's center screen. Let's double check here. So let's view the code and run this quickly. Oops. Someday I'll remember to change my startup project. So there it is. So what's going to happen is right now, when I click pizza or I click salad, these don't change. We will want the text in there to change accordingly based on whether I chose burger, and it'll be this, pizza, where this is going to change to pepperoni, this is going to change to sausage, this will change to olives, and then this, where it'll have like croutons and whatever. All right, like a breadstick, and I don't remember what the other one is. Now, all three of these, technically at least, all three, up, these should all be, all those should be read only. All right, because we're basing the cost based on what's up here. So I'm going to make those read only. All right, I could change the color if we wanted to, but it's okay the way it is. All right, so that, as far as I can tell at least, we have now created our interface. Let's take a quick look at the comments up here that says what we're supposed to be doing. All right, we'll complete a form that accepts a lunch order from the user and calculates the subtotal and the total. All right, provides for 3 main courses, hamburger, pizza, and salad, add-ons. So again, for a hamburger, it's lettuce, tomato, and onions, ketchup, mustard, and mayo, French fries, any of those add-ons. So the add-ons are either going to be 0 because we chose none, 125 because we chose 1, 250 because we chose 2, or 375 because we chose all 3. Then for pizza, it's $6.95 is our base cost. We have, again, 3 add-ons. So again, it'll be 75 cents if we only choose one of these, $1.50 if we choose 2, and $2.25 if we choose all 3. I think this is wrong. I think that's $6.50, but we'll check on that in just a bit. We'll leave it $6.75. That's fine. Okay, so that's $6.75. So the add-ons are 50 cents each. So if I choose one of these, it's 50 cents. 2, it's $1.50. I'm sorry, 2, it's $1. 3, it's $1.50. We've created the GUI, added the radio buttons, we added the group boxes. We're going to do the load event, so we're going to basically pick it up right here. All right, so with the load event right there, what it says that we want to do, all right, what we want to do with our load event, all right, is we want to set the hamburger stuff as the default. We'll do that in just a minute. Now, notice in here, we've got 2 different clear methods. We've got a clear totals that clears those 3 text boxes, and we've got a clear add-ons that removes the check boxes from the add-ons, so anything we've chosen in there. All right, so we want to make sure when we change the radio button that the add-ons change accordingly, and that's what this says. And we want to make sure that we code the event handler to display the correct subtotal, tax, and order total. Once we get done with that, we're going to add an additional form where we can change the tax rate. All right, so I'm going to start with creating a boatload of constants here again. I'm just going to copy this down. I'm going to try to make my life a little easier. All right. Those. All right. So add-on 1 is going to be just what you saw. So that is lettuce, tomato, and onions. Number 2 is going to be ketchup, mustard, and mayo. Number 3 is going to be French fries. All right, so that's add-on 3. Then we're going to have, I had an add-on cost. All right, because each time you have a burger, the cost of that is going to be $1.25 each. So this is going to say add-ons, $1.25 each. Oh, I got that. All right, and finally, this is going to be the cost. So this is just going to say burger main for the main course, and that's 5M. All right, and that one will have to be a decimal. All right, so what I'm doing there is I'm setting everything up. This is what's going to go into the first checkbox. This will go into the second checkbox. That'll go into the third checkbox. This is going to be the heading for that group box for these, and this is going to be the cost. All right, so that's that. All right, So we've got those done. Don't know if this will make it easier or harder, but I'm going to do this. So the second one will be pizza. Pizza add-on 1. Pizza add-on 2. Pizza add-on 3. Pizza add-on cost. And pizza main. Okay. So this one is, these are pretty simple. It's pepperoni, sausage, and olives. And these are 75 cents each. And the main cost here is, I think it was $6.95, I believe. Okay, so that's those. All right, and finally, I'm going to come down here and paste it in again. And these are going to be the salad. So this is the salad add-on 1, the salad add-on 2, the salad add-on 3, the salad add-on cost, and the salad main. And again, this was I don't know if it's 670. Let's see what it says here. 675. Okay. So 6.75 M. Some reason in mind I put 650 there. I don't know why. So these are going to be croutons. This one will be bacon bits. This one will be breadstick. I think they said breadsticks. And these are 50 cents each. Okay. I'm going to put in one global variable here. And that'll be the tax rate. And I'm going to set it initially to 0.0775 M, because that's what we're told at the beginning it should have, but we'll be able to change that. I guess I'm going to put in a couple more here. I'm going to have price for the main course, and I'll set that equal to 0.00 M, and the price for an add-on. Call it add-ons. Now, you're all smart people, and ideally, at least, you can all realize now this right there, that tax rate is what's going to go in here. All right. This, the price for the main course is going to be either that price or that price or that price. And then finally, the price for the add-ons is going to be, again, it'll depend on which of these we choose. Did we choose 0 add-ons, 1 add-on, 2 add-ons, or all 3 add-ons? All right. So far as I know, at least, that's everything. Now, why don't we go in and we will, I'm going to write the clear. Okay, I'm going to do that next. And I'll call my clear form, but we're going to do this one differently. All right, so down here for clear form, what we're going to do is we're going to call those other 2 clear methods they told us to do, and we'll put those right below. So that is clear add-ons and clear totals. And of course, we're getting errors right now, and you should know that, and you should know why we're getting errors right now. All right, we're getting errors because we haven't written those yet. So let's put those right below. All right, and all we want to say here is CHK. This is why I gave him a generic name. Add-on 1 dot checked equal false. This, I'm doing exactly what we were told to do in here. And we want to set number 2 to false, and we want to set number 3 to false. All right, we're going to test these in just a moment. Then we also need a private void clear, and that'll be txt subtotal dot text will be equal to nothing. Txt tax dot text will be equal to nothing. Txt doesn't like that. Maybe I didn't rename that one. Call it txttx instead of txttax. That fixes that. So txt tax dot text equals nothing, and txt. Did I not name the last one? I did not. That's why I always try to check, and I didn't here. Is there anything else I didn't name? Not that I can tell. Okay. So txt order total dot text is equal to nothing. All right. We're not told to do anything as far as setting a focus, so I'm not going to. All right. And I have no errors. If I run this right now, all right, and I do choose all of these, it doesn't matter. All I want to do is click clear. All right. And right here with these, they're not going to do anything because those are all read only. But the checkboxes went away. That's good. Okay. So that was the first thing that we wanted to do in there. All right. Now we are told that what we should do is when the program starts to run. So when we look in here at our requirements, we created the GUI, we added the 3 radio buttons, we added the group box. So in the load event, we want to make sure that the hamburger radio button is checked when the form loads. Okay. And again, I'm just trying to do these in not in the maybe the order I do them, but the order in which we're told to do them right here. All right. So again, when we start, okay, I'm going to call set burger as default. So all right, and all I'm going to do for now is just say rad burger dot enable is true. I suppose I could probably also set the I could set the text. So I could say chk add-on 1 dot text equal, and I think we had, did we have constants we did for all these? Yep. So I could say burger add-on 1, burger add-on 2, and burger add-on 3 in here. I did not do this in mine, but why not? Now it's not going to look any different when I run this because we had set those up at the beginning anyway. All right. But you'll notice the only way I could show you this, is, I mean, the clear isn't going to do anything right now. So let's just hope at least that right now those are working. And you'll notice that some of my stuff is no longer, it should be French fries, not French fried. All right. Why didn't the add-on 3? I didn't change it. Okay. All right. So those are now done. Okay. So we've done the first 4 things in here. Then do one clear add-ons that removes the check marks. We did that. All right. Code an event handler that changes the text that's displayed for the add-ons group boxes when the user selects a different course. Well, what the heck does that even mean? All right. Well, when they select a different course, what's happening? This is changing, right? All right. So we want to make sure that when you go from one to the other, that the stuff changes. Okay. So there's really three possibilities here. In the order, let's think about the other ones. All right. So what we'll think about is what happens when this gets checked. So that rad burger check changed. How about this one? And how about this one? All right. Okay. So we can do it in here, of course. We can do it any way we want, basically. All right. But in here, what I'm going to do is I'll basically just set up everything I want to set up. How's that? So we're going to I'm just going to call set burger, period. Not as default, just set burger. And we'll put that right here. All right. And I'm going to say price for the main course is equal to burger main, which sets it to $7.95. The price of each add-on, all right, is going to be equal to, and I got to check that, something looks wrong there. It's going to be equal to 1.25 M. All right, what did I put here? Price for add-ons. I'm going to make it singular. All right, so that's now okay. We could have come in here. Did we come in here and do that? Let's see. We got the main. All right, so we could have also come in here and said burger AO. All right, so in other words, I could have come in here and done a const decimal burger AO for add-on and set that equal to 1.25 M. All right. And come down here, put this one. So this will be pizza add-on. And that was, I believe, 75 cents. And finally, we'll come down here and we'll do this salad add-on. And that was equal to 0.50 cents each. All I'm doing by creating all these extra constants is hopefully at least making my code more readable. You may agree with that. You may not agree with that. Okay. All right. So price for the main course. Let's see. Where are we here? So the price for the add-on now I can say burger add-on. Okay. So we've got those two set. All right. Now we have to basically set our text. So chk add-on 1.text equals burger add-on 1. Oops. See if the IntelliSense will click in here. Okay, so that's those. And I think that's everything. Okay, now we want to make sure that none of them are checked right now. None of those should be checked. So in our, what we wrote earlier up here, we can call clear add-ons. So none of them are checked. So let's call clear add-ons. All right. So then when we get down to pizza, we'll call set pizza. And I'm going to copy all this stuff and just change it from burger to pizza. That's wrong, so I'll have to look at that in a minute, but we will. Probably I didn't have two A's in there, but let's check. Wow, it's really bad. Pizza add on. There we go. All right. Hopefully that fixed the error that was in here. It did. All right, so this will be pizza add-on 1, pizza add-on 2, pizza add-on 3, and clear add-ons. Okay, finally in here, we'll call set salad. Again, I'll just copy all this in and change it from pizza to salad. And again, you can see somehow I've screwed that up. So let's go back up to the top. So that's salad. There should be two A's in there. No, there shouldn't. That actually is right. Salad AO, salad add-on. There. Now I can go and just check and make sure that when I go from one radio button to the other, that the text that's in here changes. So there's burger, there's pizza, there's salad. Now, I missed something here. These should be changing too, and they're not. All right, so it's my group box text. Did I set that up? And I believe that I did. Yeah. So we called it burger AO cost, pizza AO cost, and salad AO cost. Okay, let's get those in here. So that'll be group box add-ons dot text will be equal to burger add-on cost. And let's do the other two right away. So this will be equal to pizza add-on cost. And finally, cost. All right. So let's run it again. Now this, notice now it's right, 125 each. So when I click here, it should change to 0.75 each, and here it should change to 0.50 each. And it appears to be working. So right now, it all appears to be working. And when I come here and I click clear, those are clearing. Plus when I'm here and I change to one of these, that's also clearing. So far, everything is working. Everything that we've been asked to do is working. What we have not done yet is we haven't figured out the cost. So you can see all that stuff in there. So the place order we haven't handled yet. All right. So in here, we haven't handled this. Okay. So let's do that right now. Now, notice these are clears, etc. That's the exits, etc. Error message. There's our load. I could, if these check changed, I could move those up. Everything's working right now where it is, so I'm just going to leave it all alone. All right. Okay, but let's come in here now and actually do what we want to do when you place the order. So when you place the order, what do you want to do? Not to be funny, you basically want to determine bill. All right, what do you owe? So let down here, let's do a private void, determine bill. All right, and this isn't really that hard, but we have to figure out how many add-ons they have. Did they click 0 add-ons, 1 add-on, 2 add-ons, or all 3? So let's have a variable, an integer, which will either be 0, 1, 2, or 3, and we'll call it number of add-ons. And we'll set that equal to 0. All right. And then we're going to say if chk add-on1 dot checked, well, then they check the first one, right? We can put that as they show right here in the IntelliSense. You can say equal true, but there again, we can use the shortcut and just say, come on, dot checked. Those do the same thing. All right. If that's the case, we want to say plus number of add-ons. And guess what? We actually want to do that 3 times, once for each one of these. These 3 are basically, since they're checkboxes, they are not mutually exclusive. You can have none checked, 1 checked, 2 checked, or all 3 checked. So that's going to make, so when we get down to here, that means the number of add-ons will either be 0 if none are checked, 1 if 1 is checked, 2 if 2 are checked, and 3 if all 3 are checked. All right. So now it's not very hard to figure out our bill. There's really not much left to do here. So I'm going to create decimal subtotal. And what is that equal to? It's the price of the main course, which again is either $6.95 for a burger. I'm sorry, $7.95 for a burger, $6.95 for a pizza, or $6.75 for a salad. All right. And we have to add to that the number of add-ons times the price for each add-on. Right there. So that'll be our subtotal. All right. Then we will need our sales tax. Now this is our calculated sales tax, so it'll be our subtotal times our tax rate, which we're going to change in just a minute, or give the user the chance to change in just a minute. Finally, total, and that'll be equal to the subtotal plus the sales tax. All right, again, very similar to other problems that we've done this semester. All right, finally, txt subtotal.text is going to be equal to, and because we didn't do it last time, let's do some string interpolation. And this will be subtotal. And we want that to be formatted for currency. And then we'll have, what did I miss here? Oh, I don't need the parens. And just copy this down twice. So we'll need txt tax. And this will be our sales tax. Oh, I got an equal sign there, but I did. And I don't need those parens again. And finally, we'll have our final total, which is just order total. All right, and that'll be total. All right, again, because I'm a little squirrely here. I think we're done. Let's try it and take a look. All right. The thing that's nice about this example is we only have a finite number of choices. I don't know how many there are, but what I'm saying is I want a burger and I'm going to check everything. All right. So that should be $7.95 plus 375. So 795 and 375 should be, I think, 1170. So that's what should be in here. And if I take 1170 and multiply that by 0.0775, my tax should be 91 cents, should be rounded up. And 91 cents and 775, should be, whatever that was. So let's check. 1170, 91 cents. Add those two up, you get 1261. Let's try it with nothing. So it should be 795 here, and it is. Okay, let's try it with 1. So it should be 795 and 125, or 820. Okay, let's try it with 2. It appears as though it's working. Let's clear. Now you'll notice that cleared and these cleared. Let's go to pizza. And that's 695 plus 225, should be like 920 or something like that. Okay, that looks like it worked. Let's try it with nothing. So that goes to 695, etc. 1 chosen and 2 chosen. Again, it appears as though it's working. And then let's go to salad. Notice again that changed, and these are all out of here. We probably, I'm not calling in here when we change. We should call clear order total too. I thought we were calling that. Maybe we're not. But salad with nothing. Okay, that should say 675. This is wrong. We'll fix that in a minute. All right, 1 thing chosen, 2 things chosen, all 3 chosen. So I want to change the text on there to 675 because it's wrong right now. Now look, clear did clear that out. All right, so I don't know if I'm not calling it every time. I'm going to go back and look. All right, so the first thing is somewhere up here. Oh, it's here. That should say 675. So that is now correct. So that fixed the first one. Second, let's come in here where we had these. Set burger as default. We are calling clear add-ons here. We are calling clear add-ons here and here, but we also want to call our clear totals here. Here, because we've changed, because we have come in and we have changed whatever our main course was. So we should be clearing those out. All right, so file, save all here, run this again. All right, so burger, I'm going to take for granted that's correct. When I go to pizza, that cleared, these got changed. And I'm going to take for granted that's correct. When I go to salad, again, that cleared, these cleared. So I believe at least we're done, not finished with the program yet, but we're done with everything we were supposed to do so far. All right. Now, what we're told next in here, I actually think I did everything that was in here. Okay, the order totals, etc. But let's go back. We're supposed to set it up, let's see, so that if the user wants to, oh, that's not on this one. I'm sorry. It's on the next one. We're going to add for the next one. We're going to add an extra form. We're not adding an extra form onto this one. Okay. It's always set up like this. So I believe at least we have finished the second one. Came in and added a boatload of constants. All right, added 3 class variables. All right. Came in to determine the bill. We needed to know if you chose 0, 1, 2, or 3 add-ons. The subtotal was the main course price times the number of add-ons you had times the price of the add-ons. The parens really aren't necessary here, but they do make it clear what's going on. The sales tax, again, would be the subtotal times the tax rate, and the total is the subtotal plus the sales tax. And we printed those out. Clear, we're calling clear add-ons and clear totals. The clear add-ons is just making sure that none of them are checked. The clear totals are taking the 3 text boxes that we have in there and clearing them out. Then in the load event, we set burger as default. That just set everything here. And again, just to be, we could come in here and say clear add-ons and clear totals. They should be clear anyway at the beginning, but it never hurts. All right. Then anytime we check, we change and we click the radio button we call set burger, which sets our price to $7.95, sets our add-on price to $1.25, sets our text accordingly, including our group box text, clears out the add-ons that are in there. So if anything was checked, it's not checked anymore, and takes those 3 text box totals and clears those out. Pizza does the same thing, but with pizza. Salad does the same thing, but with salad. All right, let's get started. I'll go for just about 5 or 10 more minutes and we'll take another break. So we've got the second one of these 3 done. So now it's up to the third one. So let's take a look at what this says. All right. In this exercise, we are going to add a second form to the invoice total. So this is our main form. This is the form we're going to add. All right, and we're going to add it as a modal form. In other words, when we bring this one up, we're not going to have this one disappear. All right, but it will be modal, so we'll have to either click OK, putting a number in here, or cancel. All right, when we do this, what we're told, I believe in here, is it has to be a number between 0 and 10. Now they said non-inclusive, but I made it inclusive. So I had my minimum tax rate is 0 and my maximum is 10. All right. So come in here and at least start working on the working on this. All right. So as we do this, it's not what I call a super complicated form that we're creating for our main form in here. All right, this is very similar to the kinds of stuff we've done before. I'm going to make this a little bigger. Doesn't have to be wider, but I made it a little bigger there. We're going to have 4 buttons. Too bad. And we're going to have 5 text boxes. Looks pretty good as far as I can tell, just eyeballing it. And we're going to have 5 labels. As I like to do, I'm going to make my labels a shade darker. Oops. There we go. Set that. Finally, I'm going to just move this whole thing over so it's somewhat centered on the screen. That's not too bad. And I'm going to set my text size for everything. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. It looks like it should go. This one at least should go up a little. There we go. It's good enough. I don't want to play with it anymore. All right, these four are all going to be read-only. All right, this is going to be the product total. Which will make this TXT product total. This will be the discount amount. Oops. Which of course will make this TXT discount amount. All right, this one is subtotal. Whoops. Try that again. All right, which will make this TXT subtotal. This will be tax. This is the one we will be able to change. And for now, when we start it up, at least it'll be set to tax 7.75%, like that. All right, this will be TXT tax. And this will be total. And since that's LBL total, this will be TXT total. And then our buttons, just go this way. So this one will be PTN exit. And let's just put in the code, the text. This will be clear. This will call the other form. So we're going to call this BTN change PCT for changing the percentage. But I didn't. All right, and I think for that one, they wanted it under the P, so let's put an ampersand there. And finally, this last one is our calculate. All right, let's make sure that I didn't if I left anything out that I didn't name. Looks good as far as I can tell. It is set the start position to center screen, so let's set our tab order to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I can see I spelled product wrong here. It's wrong there. On here. Probably means it's wrong there as well. No, it's not. Good. All right. So as far as I can tell, everything looks pretty much at least okay so far. When we clear, we're going to basically want to clear all of these and set the focus there. So we'll do that one in a moment, and we'll do our exit in a moment. So there's that one. That, and let's do our exit button. All right. File, save all this time. Whoops, that was interesting. So file, save all, good. Let's change our start project to 10.3. Run this. All right, now we go down to here, we click clear. Yeah, it appears to work. And our exit works. All right, so when we come back from our break, which we will in just a minute, when we come back, we are responsible for doing 3 more things. Let's lock our interface into place. That is, we must add the code for calculate, and we must add the code for change percentage. And when we add the code for change percentage, we're going to have to bring in the other form. So we will have to create another form in here. It'll be a nice small form. We'll do that after the break. I've got 10:19. Please come back at 10:30 and we'll finish this up, and then that'll be it for the day. Thanks. All right, it is 10:30. I want to get us out of here by around 11:15 or so, but we'll see. So let's start putting in the code here. And as always, to start with, I did create one global constant. And that was the discount rate was 10%. All right, and I created three class variables or global variables, whatever you want to call them. Now, two of them we didn't have to do. This one is the tax rate. This is what we're going to allow the user to change. But I also, and again, we didn't have to do this, but I wanted to try to do some kind of a reasonableness check in here. So I had a decimal that I called, in fact, I made those constants. I don't know what I'm doing here. So a const decimal here that I called min product cost. And I said everything has got to cost at least $1. And I had another one that I called max product cost. And I gave a big variance here, so I set that equal to $1 million. All right, I figured that should handle anything. At least hopefully that would handle anything. Okay, so that's everything that I had in there. Now, I tried to follow as best I could what they told you to do in the book here. What do I mean? Well, in here for the calculate, okay, try catch, but I could have. All right, I just did an if statement here that said if is valid data, which we haven't written yet. So if it's valid, what do I want to do? Well, I want to calculate the discount amount. We haven't written that either, so we'll write both those right away. Let me just comment this one out for now, and we'll uncomment it in just a second. So for the is valid data, all right, again, very, very similar to what we've done. We'll have an is present. All right, we move these over so you can see the whole line. There we go. We'll have an is decimal. And we will have an is within range. And for our range, we will have to add two more parameters, which will be our min product cost and our max product cost. Well, as you can see, we got boatloads of errors here. All right, so let's quick write those. So this will be our private string is present. And we'll have here, because we did value and name, because that's the way we've been doing it. Notice that's already left. Okay. Uh, we've been always doing this, but I just want to show you something. That is, we've always been saying here, name is a required field, which is totally fine. That's basically the way I've been doing it. But we could also come in here and use string interpolation and do it like that as well. All right. I mean, some of you, have asked me questions about, can we use string interpolation here or there? You can basically use it anywhere you're not using it. So we'll return message. All right, so there's is present, so that one is gone now. Let's put in our is decimal. It'll be a string as well. And underneath that, once we get done, we're going to do our is within range. So and of course, that'll be our string value, our string name, and we'll have a decimal min and a decimal max, just like it shows here. Hopefully, at least. No, that hasn't gotten everything out of there, but it will in a second. So for the is decimal string message, I could just copy these in, but I'm going to keep in. So again, we don't care right here. I screwed that up because I didn't put in string name and string value. Got them there now. All right. We don't care here, so we'll just do an out with the discard value. And again, return message. Now my error is gone from here and my error is gone from here. So let's write the is within range. Well, we've already done the parsing, so we shouldn't have to check. We could do it again if we wanted to. All right, let's just do it again just to be safe. So in fact, did we have a variable here? We did this, we just used the discard value, but do we have a thing in here for the price? We don't have a global variable. We could make decimal and its product cost. Set that equal to nothing. Totally fine. 0M. All right. We might as well do that. Why? Because then when we do that here, all right, when we do that over here, we can put it into product cost. All right. Now that we've done that, we don't have to do it again. We've already parsed it. So we can say if product cost is less than min, than min, which is what we're going to pass in, minimum product cost, or product cost is greater than max. Well, we know we've got an out of range error basically. So message because I can't like that. And again, we'll return message. All right. So now we have no errors in those. Okay, that's good. But we haven't finished our is valid data yet, and that's why we're getting an error here. So let's finish that one up real quick. Again, right out of Muroc. So if error message is not equal to blank. In other words, we had an error. All right. And now we can return success. And to my knowledge, at least, let's see. Yep, all of our errors are now gone. Now, what we haven't done yet is written this, calculate discount amount. And we're actually going to calculate everything. I don't like calculate discount amount because let's just say calculate totals. All right, because it's not just the discount amount we're going to put in there. So calculate totals. Again, we're getting an error because we have not written it yet. So let's write it now. All right. And we will need 5 variables. Well, actually, we have the product total already, so that's okay. So let's see, we need decimal for the discount amount. And that's going to be equal to our product total, which is our global variable. Didn't I set that up here? Product cost, I'm sorry. So that's product cost. And that'll be times the discount rate. All right. Then we will have our subtotal. And that's going to be equal to our product cost minus the discount amount. Then we will have our subtotal. Oops, we just did that. Our taxable total. We'll call it tax total. It doesn't matter what we call it. And that'll be our subtotal times our tax rate. That's the one we're going to allow the user to change in just a minute. Finally, we'll have our final total. And that'll be equal to our subtotal plus our tax total. Again, just because I like to, I'm going to line all these things up. All right, now we have to basically fill in, we've got those, we have to fill in the appropriate text boxes. And let's again use string interpolation for all of these. All right, that should be everything. And now to test this, I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to, let me save it and run it. All right. Now this is going to disappear for a second, but it'll come right back. Let's use the values that they used here and see if they work. We haven't done this yet. We got to do that momentarily. So just 225 and click calculate. 225 must be a valid decimal value. Something's goofed up there. Huh. I'll have to look at that. Of course, we can't go on, but let's see. So let's look. Is validated. So we came in here. Product total. I think that's what that was called, right? Must have been. DXT product total. So that's good. Total, product total, product total. Those are all correct. Okay. Oh, that should have been. No, that's okay. Product cost. Must be a valid decimal value. We call this, we're passing in what we put in there. I'm just trying to figure out, looking at this quickly, why it's failing. Value. Well, we'll set a breakpoint in a second, but I want to see it one more time. So we're getting that 225 must be a valid decimal value. Oh, that did this one backwards. This should be value. And this should be name. Try it again. Hopefully that's the only one I goofed up on. Okay, so let's look at this and compare it with what was in our textbook. All right, let me bring that up again, and we'll put them side by side. 225, 2250, 20250, 15. So I can tell that works. So when I clear, if I leave it empty, I do get product total is required, must be a valid integer value, and it must be between 0 and or 1 and a million. If I put a non-numeric in there, I get just the 2 errors. And if I put a value that's out of range in there, just the 1 error. So as far as I can tell, everything right now is working. So the only thing we have to change, or actions they change because there's no errors. The only thing we have to add to then is this change percent. All right. So that's the only thing I believe that we have to do right now. When we click this button, we want to show the other form. So I'm going to call a routine called show other form, which we haven't created yet, but we will momentarily. Oops. Now we're going to a load of errors in here. So what I'm going to do to make it easier, all right, is I'm going to quickly create the other form in here. Right mouse click, add. I'm going to go down to forms here, form, Windows form. And I'm going to create this. And this is just allows us to change the sales tax. So I called it FRM sales tax.cs. All right. Now there it is. We're going to make it nice and small because it only is going to have a field or two in it. So we're going to make it like that. And I'll change the color so it matches the other one. And I'm just going to change the text in here. So hopefully when we bring this up in a second, we'll see all this. So we don't even need to have it center screen, but we'll set the text. And this will say change sales tax form, something like that. Now let's go back to this one. We're going to fill that in just a minute, but So we're going to come in here and show the other form. We're going to say form FRM sales. What do we call it? FRM sales tax. All right. Equals new FRM sales tax. We didn't have to call it that. We can call it anything we want. So dialog result, that's going to be equal to FRM sales tax dot show dialog. We don't need anything in there. All right. Before we even do this, let's see if that's going to show the other form. So file, save all, we run this, and there's our other form. I'll leave it up there because then we can see them both pretty well. All right, so far, so good. It's all working. All right. Now we're going to have to fill some stuff in here. So if result equal dialog okay, meaning we were able to open it. Now tax rate is going to be equal to convert dot two decimal. Now we might get an error here. If we do, we'll fix it in a minute. FRM sales tax dot tag. All right, we didn't get an error. LBL tax dot text equals right, the tax rate. We're going to enter a whole number in there, or so we want to say divide equal by 100 to make it into a decimal again, and then we'll clear the form. All right, hopefully that did everything we wanted it to do. We're going to find out in just a moment. But we have to come in there and we have to create some code in our other form. Right now, there's nothing in it. All right, so let me do a save all, and let's go to the second form here, which is this one. All right, it's got like I said, it's got a simple interface on it. All right, and let's look like says sales tax. I don't know if that's what I put in there, but that's okay. A label, a text box, and we're only going to put these two buttons in, just okay and cancel. So label, text box, and two buttons. Move this over. We'll have a label. In just a minute, that will say sales tax. It'll be LBL sales tax. And again, it will say sales tax. Let's try to make it a little nicer for the person. So we'll put in here 0 through 10. So they have some kind of an idea what they should be entering. All right, we'll put in our text box. And since this was LBL sales tax, this will be TXT sales tax. And let's put in our two buttons. I don't like the way this looks right now, so I'm going to, in fact, let's do this. We'll do that. Let's make this real small here. That. And at our two buttons, our OK button, which will go right here. And our cancel button which will go right here. All right, let's change the size on all these. Okay, I guess that's got to be a little wider. That's okay. We'll move this over a little bit. And we'll make this bigger. All right, not too bad. All right, so we've got here LBL sales tax, TXT sales tax. This, let's just lock this into place, but this will be our OK button. And it's just going to say on it OK. And technically, we're going to have a cancel button here, but it's not going to do anything. All right, so. All right. Yeah, change sales tax form. Yeah, that looks, as far as I can tell, at least everything looks okay. Now, a couple things that we're going to need to put in here. So let's put in our code. All right. I'm not going to put any comments in there. It's the same comment as the last one. But I am going to put in two constants. There'll be my min tax rate of 0 and my max tax rate of 10. All right. Now, unfortunately, however you want to look at it, there's still stuff that we're going to have to do in here. All right. We're still going to have to validate. We're still going to have to see if something is present and if it is decimal and if it is within range, etc. So to try to make our life a little bit easier, I'm going to click this, and under the OK button, I'm going to copy in all the stuff that we did earlier from our invoice total. So in other words, I'm going to copy in the is valid data, which I'll change, the is present, the is decimal, and the is within range. So I'm going to copy all those in. Now, you might be saying even to yourself, well, isn't there a better way of doing that? Yeah, but we haven't learned that yet. Okay, we will, but we haven't learned it yet. All right, don't worry about these errors. We're going to get rid of them all right away. All right. So in here, in our OK button that's right here, we're going to say if is valid data, which we now have in there. We want to say tag. This is what we're going to be able to send back to the other form. Equals txt sales tax dot text. So we're going to send that back to the other form. And dialog result equals dialog result OK. Now we have to make changes in here, as you'd probably guess. This, all of these are going to have to be set to this. Okay. And this will just be set to sales tax. All we're doing, we've only got one field in here. So this is all of our validation is taking place on this one field. All right. So this is min tax rate, and this is max tax rate. All right. Again, if there is an error, well, this is the only one we have. So I'm going to just use a message box.show here. All right. Error message and entry error. And looking in here, I don't see any errors now. Well, that won't be product cost anymore. Okay, I think we can just use a discard value. All right, and these are going to be wrong too. All right, so we came in here. Do we make a variable for the tax rate? No, let's make one. All right, so when we come in here and we parse it, we'll put it into tax rate. And when we check in here, we'll say if tax rate is less, tax rate is less than the minimum, or tax rate is greater than the maximum. All right. Well, let's see if it works. Believe it or not, after this, we're finished. So let's look. You've already seen this. I just want you to see it. 225. This is at 7.75%. That works. Let's clear it. Let's change the percentage. It didn't come out too bad, so we'll put it right there. And let's make it, right now, it is set to 7.75%. Let's set it to 10%. All right, didn't do a flipping thing, which means I'm missing something, so that's okay. So let's come back in here. All right, so this is, that's the one we just created. Okay, now the only other thing I want to do, and again, because I do these, is I want to center that. Other than that, I think this one's done, but we'll see in a minute. So let's go back and look at this one. All right. So we changed the percentage. We showed the other form. That looks fine. All right, but nothing happened when we did that. So am I missing anything? I don't think I am. Okay, watch. Let's run it again. All right, I'm going to see if this works now. I'm going to change the percentage. So I'm going to put that to 10. Click OK. Notice it changed there to 10. Now I'm going to put in my 225 again and calculate. Okay. The tax rate 2025 is 10% of that. The only thing that's going to change in here is this value, since this value is changing, and this plus this equal this will change and this will change. If I run it again, probably should have cleared everything in here, but if I put in something out of range, all right, tax must be in that range. Good. Good. If we left it blank, okay, good. If we put something non-numeric in here, that's good. All right, they all appear to be working. To clean this up a little bit, all right, two things I'm going to do here. One is I'm going to come back into this one, and for the is present, that's okay. But here, if we couldn't parse it, I'm going to say txt, the text is equal to nothing. And I'm going to set the focus there too. And I'm also going to do the same thing if we put in a value that's not in range. So if I run this again, click the change percentage, leave it blank. Okay, we get that. Good. Non-numeric. Oops, I didn't put it. I'll try to, yeah, non-numeric. It changes and we get that message. Good. And our cursor is there. Out of range. And it clears and we get the message. Out of range the other way. Okay, good. And none of those are changing. But if we come in here and put in 5, all right, and I click OK, that changed to 5. Good. And right there, now if I put in, let's put in 200. The discount amount should be $20. That's 10%. 20 minus 200 minus 20 is 180. 180 times 5% is $9. 180 plus $9 is 189. So it appears as though everything is working. The only thing I could do if I wanted to is in here where we call this, probably what would have been cleaner to do when I left it off of my original one, is that when we call that show other form right here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call clear form. I just think that's a little cleaner way of doing it. So if I come in here and I put in 200 and fine, but if I want clear again. All right, so if I put in 3%, changes to 3, and now I can put in any number I want. Okay, it all appears, as far as I can tell, to be working. Okay, so what I will do right now, a file, save all. Let's close this. Okay, now in EE9-10 is where I've got everything. So I don't have anything set up for GitHub yet. So git init, git add dot, git commit -m, chapters 9 and 10, extra exercises. I do have to set my remote, and that I put it up here. There we go. Try that again. There we go. Again, that's establishing the communication between Git and GitHub. So far I did git init, a git add dot, a git commit, and now I'm going to do add my remote origin. I can check it with a git remote -v. Now I should be able to push. Looks good. Going back to where I am on GitHub here. Right now it looks like that. And if I click on it, all right, there is the EE910. Okay, I can add a README, and we'll just say Muroc chapters 9 and 10 extra exercises. Commit that, commit that. Now we've got that. Extra exercises, that's in the README. Okay, so that should be everything. All right, it is 11:08. I think that's enough. Again, on either be a lab, and Tuesday we're going to go over the first homework problem and do a pretest, or Monday we'll go over one of the homework problems and the pretest, and Tuesday will be a lab. Probably I'm going to do it the first way. Monday will probably be a lab, but we'll see. I'll let you know this weekend. Have a nice weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.